Hello, today I'm going to show you two versions of a chicken filling recipe that you can do. One is you can make tortilla wraps to serve with the chicken filling or bagels. I'm going to start with the wraps. First of all, obviously you need to wash your hands, you need to have on a clean apron. You should also have at least 2 clean tea towels and a clean dishcloth before you begin. I'll wash my hands. Remember, soapy water, 20 seconds, wash between your fingers, around your thumb, and give it a really good wash, particularly at the moment, with all the illnesses going on. One tea towel can be used just for your hands, and the other tea towel for the dishes. So keep the hand tea towel separate. First of all, we're going to start by making the wraps. And you need 1.5 cups of plain flour. I have measured these out already, so you know to dip it into the flour, use a flat-edged knife to scrape it off, straight into the bowl with a sifter. So it's 1 3/4 cups of flour. So that's 1 cup, half a cup, and then 1/4 cup to make it 1 3/4. Important to measure accurately so that you get your measurements right in relation to dry ingredients and moist ingredients. Make sure you stack your dishes, dirty dishes to one side so that you don't end up with a big messy workspace. Okay, you need half a teaspoon of salt. I've measured that out, that can go straight in. 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. So we've used plain flour, which means we need a raising agent. And the baking powder was popped over here. And it's 1/4 teaspoon. You don't want too much baking powder because it has quite a strong taste and it can make your food taste not too nice if you over measure. Okay, mix with a knife just to combine those couple of ingredients. Now the next thing you need is 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, so I'm going to just put that in there, and then you need half a cup of hot water. Hot water from the tap, make sure it's running so it's nice and warm. Again, measure accurately. Best way to do that, put it flat on the bench, get down to eye level, and then tip out to make the adjustments. Okay, the hot water goes straight into the bowl, and with a knife, mix that up. Okay, until it comes together. If you try and put your hands in there too soon, it will be quite messy. Now, if it's looking a bit dry, like it's okay, you want to add a little bit extra water now. Don't wait till later. A little bit of extra flour on your bench. Now, this is important. You're not making bread, so you don't have to work the dough too much. So, bring it together, and you want to fold it about 10 to 12 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'll start to see 10. It come together into a nice smooth bowl. 11. I'm going to do that was 12. 12. Any of these bits that have come, you can just push them aside and pop them into the bin. And you let this rest for 15 minutes. So you can pop it back in the bowl, cover it with Glad wrap, and let it just sit for 15 minutes. Okay, so while that's resting, I'm going to make the chicken filling. You can buy a cooked chicken and just use that. But I'm going to cook my own chicken today, so I've just diced up some chicken breast. I have a fry pan warming up beside me here. I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. And it's nice and warm, so I'll just pop my chicken straight in. You should hear that nice sizzle. And let that cook so it's nice and golden all the way through until it's done. And then put it into a bowl so it can cool down and set aside. Okay, so now for the next bit, I'm going to make the chicken filling now. My chicken has cooled down and I have diced it a little bit smaller. I'll just show you on this chopping board. I've just gathered it little bits together at a time, and just with a nice sharp knife, keeping your fingers curled under and away, just dice it up or shred that chicken so it's nice and finely chopped. Okay, that can all go into a bowl to one side. Now also, while I was preparing my chicken filling, I wiped the bench, I washed some equipment, I kept cleaning as I went so that I keep all this area and all my equipment ready to go. Okay, chicken has been on this chopping board, so that needs to go into the sink to be washed, and I need to just wash my hands again. Remember, when you're cooking, you don't just wash your hands at the beginning, you need to wash them throughout the time that you're in the kitchen. Okay, so we have the shredded chicken. I have a quarter cup of spreadable cream cheese. Scoop that out. It's not wanting to come out. It's a little bit cold still. Hopefully the warmth of the chicken will soften that up a little bit. Okay, you have 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. Now I didn't buy chives. I forgot to buy chives. So mine won't have chives in it. But if you have them, you just finely dice them up and they'll be great. And 2 teaspoons of mustard. That can all go in. And then I have about half a celery stalk. You'll need to wash your vegetables and trim off the ends. And they can, if you have a worm farm, they can go into your worm farm, or you can just put them in the bin. If you have chickens, you could feed them to chickens. Now I'm just slicing these into strips for a start. Celery adds beautiful texture to this recipe, nice and crisp and fresh. And then I'm just going to stack them up together and then just cut through all once so they're in a nice finely dice. You can dice them up however big or small you like, but I think smaller in this instance is better. If you think it's too big, you can hold the tip of the knife on the board and then you could just run back through all your celery to make them a bit smaller. Okay, that can also go into my bowl. You could also add salt and pepper if you wish to the mixture, but that will do for now. Just going to mix this up. And once that's all mixed through, that will be ready to be used as the filling for a little bit later. Okay, so the next stage is to roll out the tortilla. I have divided this into 3 so far, and they need to be divided into 6. So I'm just going to cut them into 3. And then I just knead them back into a ball and set them aside. Okay, so they don't dry out, you can keep them covered with a little bit of Glad wrap. You could even, if you didn't want to use them all at once, you can freeze them and then just defrost them and roll them out as you need them, or roll them out and freeze them rolled out. Start off with a nice little ball. Just a bit more. Pop the dough on a lightly floured surface. Roll it out. As you can see, it's sticking to my rolling pin a little bit. You can always just put a little bit of flour on your rolling pin if you like. Leave that away. When you're rolling, start from the center and push out. And you want to get these really nice and thin. Stretch it out as much as you can. Just toss that in a bit of flour so it's not sticking as much. Now I've got the pan preheating beside me, because these need to be cooked in the pan. So once that pan's nice and hot, I'll put a little bit of butter in there. So rolling out is a little bit time consuming, but if you roll it from the center out, you should end up with a nice circular thin tortilla. Okay, I'm just going to stir the butter around in my pan. It's nice and melted and the pan should be nice and hot. And I now cook that on one side, let that cook, flip it, and it'll be nice golden brown on the other. Okay, so my portable cooker wasn't hot enough. So it needs to be a really nice hot pan for this to work well. So again, a little bit of butter in there. Just let that melt. And put your tortilla on there. And because it's so hot, you'll start to see some bubbles forming. Now you don't want to overcook it and burn it because then it'll become too crispy. But you want those little bubbles to start developing, and that will make your tortillas really nice and light and fluffy. Now you can just check under it, they don't take very long. So you can see under there the beautiful golden colour. The second side will just need a couple of 20 seconds, not very long, and then it's ready to take off the heat. So we now have our beautiful tortillas that are cooked and really lovely and soft. So I'm just going to take one of those. I have a lettuce leaf that I've washed and I'm just patting dry with some paper towel. That can just get laid across the tortilla. Get a bit of my chicken filling and lay that across. Now these tortillas can be used for anything that you want to make. Okay, and then just simply roll it up and then eat it for lunch. Delicious. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy.